Hello, everybody. Kate Monroe, the host of Coffee with Kate. I'm so excited today because I'm joined by, I won't even say she's my assistant. She's like the ball juggling person that keeps my life in order. Miss Eliza, so happy to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so stoked. You know, we were talking last week, Rob and I, about the making of Wake Up Ready, this book we've been working on that we feel is going to revolutionize people's life because it's such a simple read, but it's like, hey, if you do this for 30 days, you could really change your whole psyche, your whole life. So, a lot of people don't know this, but you are actually an integral part. You know, you actually gave a really good voice and tone. You've done some amazing work getting the workbook portion of it done, which we're excited to launch here soon. But what for you did you get out of being a part of writing Wake Up Ready?
I think it was a really fun project to work on. I learned so much knowledge and wisdom that I didn't have before. I have spent a lot of time around you, and learned these lessons here and there, but seeing it in writing and seeing like, okay, this is how I can actually apply it to my life. This is what I need to do to get to the point that I want to be in terms of my career, my love life, my relationships in my life, each area of my life. It gives you practical advice that you can apply on a daily basis.
Now, what of the 30 little chapters that are in there, which of them or which one was the big standout thing for you where you said, man, this is an aha moment for me?
I think action, motivation, traction. That one was really good because it shows you that you can't just have the motivation. You can't just say, oh, I went to this thing and I'm so going to do it and it sounds so good, and then you do it for one day. It's not really how it works. You kind of have to keep yourself in traction to actually get yourself going. It's not fully this mental thing, but you have to put in the action, put in the work to get where you want to be.
Well, it's so funny. I used to tell people that motivation follows the action. Right? So you have to go take actions, take new steps, do new things in order to get where you can say, wow, I'm motivated, because it's a past tense word, right?
Yeah.
So that means you would be doing something. Going to a seminar is not enough. Watching this podcast isn't enough. Like if you're the kind of person who says, you know what, I'm willing to take a step and do the work, whatever that is, Wake Up Ready is a really good, I think, way to go and get that done. But, you and I have talked about micro traction before.
Yes.
Little traction that you can do every day. So what for you are some little wins that you feel like you can have every day that give you that sustained traction and motivation?
I think the biggest thing, which is also in the book, is committing to a morning routine.
Yeah.
Having a good ritual to start your day and keeping it going throughout the day. That makes a huge difference. I think when you wake up and you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to do anything, and then you're running late, you don't feel good about yourself because you don't look good, then the rest of your day is just crap.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that there's a chapter in the book called the 5-second rule.
Yes.
And the 5-second rule basically says that your brain wants to keep you in a comfort state. So there's only about 5 seconds between the time you decide to do something, like it's time to do it, and if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. So I wanted to test this out once. I said, let's see if it works on something small. So the night before, I set my alarm. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. No 4 a.m. wake up. Wake Up Ready is not about no 4 a.m. waking up. I said, I want to get up at 6. I want to get up 30 minutes earlier. And I remember I was dead asleep, and it was actually chilly in my room. It's hard to get up when it's cold.
So hard.
So hard. You're like, nope, too cold. And so my alarm went off, and I remember laying there thinking, boom, boom, oh my God, I'm already about to go back to sleep. And about the 4th second, I flipped my covers over, my feet hit the ground. And the second I took a couple steps, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. And it's really true. We need to just go, hey, if I want to do something, like one time I was at a convention and I went to meet a single person and I saw them out of the corner of my eye and I said, ooh, I better go over there and meet him. And I felt myself go, what if they don't like you? What if they don't want to talk to you? What if you get there and somebody's talking to him and it's awkward? And I went, nope. About the 4th second again, I started walking toward them. And then eventually I got up to them, and we've been friends for a ton of time. And so it's like, you just have to go, you know, take the leap.
Yeah, I think the 5-second rule is something that really resonated with me too. And I did the same exact thing where I was I really struggle with getting out of bed, which is funny because it's
Do
called
you?
Wake Up Ready.
It's a family trait, I feel.
I think it might
it's
be
a family thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame your dad for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's very difficult for me to get up in the morning. And I did that just a few weeks ago. Right after reading the book, working on the book, I was laying in bed and I just counted, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have to put your feet on the ground. You have to get up and you have to get going. Because I'll snooze that alarm 10 times. It'll go off. I'll sleep while it's going off.
They have those memes where people are like, my alarm's going off. And in my head, I'm like at a rave, like dancing. And it's like, no, it's actually my alarm going off for the 100th time.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that. So for you, I think when you first started working for me, your impression of how much you could accomplish in a day was so different than it is now. So maybe tell us about what your friends said about watching your Snapchat locations. They're like, are you kidnapped? What are you doing?
Yeah. So I had a friend who was looking at my Snapchat location throughout the day, and they were like, I swear you've been in 10 places today. And I was like, yeah, I have. Before I started working with you, I genuinely thought on a Sunday, the only thing I could do was go to Trader Joe's.
That'll wipe you out.
Yeah. I was like, the only thing I can get done today is go to Trader Joe's. I still have laundry to do. I still need to get my cat groomed. I still have all this stuff that needs to get done. And I was like, all I can do is Trader Joe's. That's all I have time for. And in an entire day, there's 24 hours in a day.
You can sleep when you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And with you, it's like boom, 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 boom. The amount of stuff that you accomplish in a day.
Well, you and I were actually
insane.
filling out that article for Rob for that magazine, and we were trying to count, okay, what have we done by 1:30 in the afternoon? And it was like, I don't even think we put every single thing. It was like 20 things.
Yeah.
But that's like my day every single day. But it's why I always feel, because I take everything as a win now.
Yeah.
If I get up when I decided to, boom, win. If I packed a good lunch for my son, boom, we won. If I walk with him in the morning, if I make my calls, do my Zooms, help my company, I see all those as wins. I used to think I'll get excited and I'll be happy when I get there, when I'm on the mountaintop. But I remember by about the third mountaintop I got to, I actually had to go to cognitive behavioral therapy to realize this about myself. I was only allowing myself to get excited when I arrived.
Yeah.
But then when I arrived, I felt tremendous loss because the journey was over. I had to actually pivot and shift and say the journey is the fun part.
Yes.
The changing is the fun part. The work is the fun part. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to work.
Yeah.
Essentially. So now that you do more work, how do you feel as a person?
I feel I have so much more confidence in myself. I know that
you
can
look
actually
different,
get stuff
actually.
done.
Like you look like a totally different person.
Yeah. It's only been a few months.
Yeah.
And I feel different. I mean, my life has drastically changed. Before I was working with Kate, I was working in healthcare and working 12-hour shifts.
She wasn't doing this. No coffee with Kate in the afternoon.
No coffee with Kate in the afternoon.
No drinks for lunch. No.
I wasn't even eating lunch. I didn't have time to eat lunch throughout the day. I was sitting at a desk 12 hours a day, barely getting up, barely doing anything, staring at a screen, trying to get...
Like a drone.
Yeah, like a drone. And I was miserable. I wasn't eating. I was coming home. I was just like, I would maybe eat then. I'd have a dinner, and then I'd fall asleep on my couch. I wouldn't even have the energy sometimes to get up and walk myself to bed. And it wasn't necessarily like, I can't do this, but it was a self-worth thing. I didn't believe that I had the energy to do it. I kind of convinced myself, this is all that I can get done.
This is all I'm capable of.
Yeah, this is all I'm capable of.
And I think you and I have had many discussions about worth.
Yes.
Right? About self-worth. And sadly, self-worth typically starts when you're little.
Yeah.
When you're a little kid, I had a great childhood. My traumas didn't start until I got into the Marine Corps. And then I had some pretty major traumas. But because I had such a good childhood, that gives you a long runway, a big foundation where if something happens that's horrible, you can weather that storm. But if you're told as a little kid, like what are some of the things that you told me you were told as a little kid that made your belief of yourself low?
I mean, so many awful things. I am tiny. I am 4'11". So
she's a little peanut, but we love that. We love that about her.
I am tiny, so I got a lot of things about my height. I was constantly told I was a liar by my stepmom, and I also didn't have a mother figure. So that really affected me. I had no clue how to do my hair. I'd go to school with a rat's nest every day, teeth not brushed. I had CPS called on me multiple times because they're like, this is a neglected child.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I was necessarily unhappy because I was a child, so I wasn't super aware of, okay, what does a healthy person look like? But I truly believed I was worthless. I was a liar.
Because I
just
love
a
you so
horrible
much, it like
person.
hurts my spirit to hear you like talk about yourself that way. You know, I have a 7-year-old, and you've watched the way that I am. Not that I don't get after him, because I do, but I try to put a lot into his little kid psyche because I know the damage caused later. Because I go out of my way to hire young people.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's like something that God gave me to do. It's
Yes.
like, hey, there's a whole generation. You're how old?
I'm 23.
You're 23. You're at an age where so many people are sort of at this pivotal part in your life, and there's so many people your age that have such low self-worth. And the sad thing is, you guys are all like, I'm not going to be able to buy a house. I can barely afford my car. I can barely afford groceries. I'm living as a roommate. You know, San Diego is a very difficult place to live. No matter where you are in the country, San Diego is hard to live here. Don't come here unless you have money. It's very hard. Do not do it. It's not for the faint of heart. But I feel like there's this whole self-worth issue that we have wrapped up in this generation, and a lot of it's because of social media.
Yes.
This need, this desire, like that started probably at people being 10 or 12 years old, getting bullied, not being liked enough, posting content people don't like or interact with, and then it makes you in a silo and makes you like reclusive. And I have heard so many people your age, I've never heard you say it, but I've heard so many young people say, oh, if I could just go somewhere and get in a pod and never wake up again, I would totally walk off. Why do you think I'm not your age? I'm going to be 46. Right? I'm from a totally different generation. Why is that? What is going on?
I think we're exposed to the realities of the world, and what the systems that we're operating in today are very broken.
Yeah. You can find out the truth now.
Exactly. I think that's what it is. We have so much knowledge about, oh, this is actually what's going on, and no one's doing anything about it. The people who raised us are also, a lot of them
they're
aren't
just
doing
stand
anything.
idly by and let it happen.
Yeah. The economy's awful. Don't even get me, they're started on like the prison systems. Many of our systems are just very, very broken, and
no one cares.
No one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Well, it used to be, there was like a whole war fought over, taxing tea.
Yeah.
A war where people were willing to die for this, and we just let millions of people cross our border. We let homeless, like there's 35,000 homeless veterans.
Yeah.
1.3 million at the brink. There's 350,000 missing kids that are getting assaulted, and we're like, hey, we should be making a podcast. You're watching a podcast right now while some little kid is like being sold on the hour. I mean, it's
crazy.
Like, it's not a wonder that people want to pull the ripcord. It's not a wonder that there's so much disillusionment. So what do you think we need to do? What does my generation need to do to help your generation get where you're trying to go? What do you need?
I think we need, it sounds, I don't want to say impossible, because I don't think anything's impossible, but I think a lot of our systems need to be fully restructured.
Or just completely.
Our healthcare, our education systems, every system that we're operating on right now is outdated, it's broken, and it needs at the very least, improvement. But many of them need to be restructured because they're not working. We have so many broken people in this country. We have so many people on the streets. I mean, we've seen it firsthand.
When we're going out to do homeless stuff and other things, it's like amazing. You'll be in one of the wealthiest cities in the country, and you're like, how on earth? Like, I remember the first time I went to go walk in San Diego, the homelessness issue here. I knew it was bad, but I hadn't gone down to what they call the bottoms. There was about 2,000 people living in third world. Like, there was feces on the ground, drug needles everywhere, people absolutely filthy, doing drugs, drug dealers standing right in the open. I mean, you remember the time I got beat up, a guy standing right over, I was with your brother who's shooting this right now. Thank you very much, Aiden. We love you so much. he had a guy run out of a tent with a giant knife, a Rambo knife running right at him. Thankfully, my body man, I pulled him out of the way and chucked my body man over there. I was like, take care of this. But that's in all these major cities. It's like, what are we doing? It's not a wonder your generation doesn't want to vote.
Yeah.
You're like, why?
What's the point? Because we're also told it's like your vote doesn't matter. We're told, the people, the wealthiest of the wealth, the people who have the power, that's who has a say. You have no power. You're just a cog in the machine.
Now, do you think that by telling a whole generation that their votes doesn't matter, do you not think that's by design?
I mean, it definitely is. It definitely is. And that's why,
because they don't want you to vote.
Yeah, they don't want you to vote.
Because you know the truth and what would happen if you vote. Look what happened in this last election. Whether you like it or not, the youth vote leaned heavily toward Trump because people could see so much stuff on social media that made them go, that doesn't at all sound like what's going on the news, right? So it's like, imagine if your generation did get empowered. Imagine what would happen. I mean, what do you think the revolution that could take place if you guys went, wow, with all this, us being awake and not being woke, all of us knowing all this stuff, what could we do?
I mean, I think if I think about it in my own personal life, if we started with restructuring the food and health systems and we had healthy people who could actually function on a day-to-day basis.
With all our money, there's the obesity problem.
Yeah. There's the obesity problem. There's chemicals in our food that we're consuming on a day-to-day basis. The, vaping crisis, any drug crisis. We're exposed
there's
to
an innumerable amount of crises.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everything. The podcast crisis, there's so many crises.
Yeah, you can't even list every single one. But I think if we at least start by focusing on our health and realizing that each person, I think lifting up this generation and giving them power to step back into themselves and realize, okay, you actually can do something, and we're next up on there. We're next up to be the people who
you're
have
the next
power.
generation of leaders.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like what you just said, is we're next up to have the power.
Yeah.
What if I told you have power now?
Yeah.
What if everyone your age watching went, wait, what? I don't have to wait to have power? I actually have power right now? You have power right now. If you're watching this, you have power right now. You can vote. You can work harder. You can save money. You could convince a person like me that you should work for them. And you could completely change your life. Like, here's the thing. You grew up without your own mom and in sort of a funky situation, with your stepmom. You guys didn't have what I would say is the easiest. You had kind of a crazy, life. In one of the chapters of the book, we talk about sometimes you can't write a new chapter in an old book.
Yeah.
You just can't do it because then all the same characters stay. The same storyline, the same traumas stay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's time to write a new book.
Yeah.
Right? And in that new book, you get to have a support system in me. But there's more of me's.
Yeah.
There's more of me's. There's more people out there that will care about you and mentor you. And so what do you think that I saw in you that made me go, not only do I want to hire you to work for me, I sort of want to step in and give you some of that mom love. What do you think you did that made me realize that I wanted to do that for you?
I mean, I think a lot of it was divine. I think a lot of it did come from that. I think I was willing to work. That was part of it too. I think I made that very known.
It wasn't that easy to get you.
It was not easy to get me.
Many rounds of negotiation.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I'm not 100% sure. And maybe that roots from my self-worth stuff that I'm still dealing with. But, I don't know. I feel like we knew we both needed each other.
I knew about you. I'll tell you why. Because
Yeah.
I know. I knew that you needed me. It wasn't that you necessarily needed this job. You needed me in your life. You needed a pattern interrupt, right? You were at a fork in the road, and it's like, hey, am I going to continue down this path of being a drone, or am I going to utilize some of the things I went to college for, some things I'm passionate about? Because I remember, I've had a totally different relationship with your younger brother for quite a while, and I remember one time he and I were at lunch, and he's like, oh, my sisters would never want to have this type of relationship, with you. And I'm like, I'll get them. I have a lot of grit and tenacity. I'll get them. But I knew that you needed me, and it reminds me of this story. When you and I were in New York, we take good trips over here. If you want a good job, working for me is a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I mean, like, did we not do everything?
Oh my gosh, it was the trip of a lifetime.
Everything.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
Somebody joined us, and we're like, hey, you want to go do that cool shit again?
Yeah.
So we got to do it all twice, and it was amazing. And my little son literally thinks, like, he was such a good, like, he was so good.
He's so good.
But one night, you and I were sitting on the bed just talking, and you were kind of relaying some of like your childhood trauma and your self-worth, issues. And while you were telling me this, I was like, oh my God. And something struck me. I was at a women's conference a few months ago, and the lady talking said she had so much childhood trauma from living in a convent as a little kid. And they told her, you're the reason your mom died. You're not worth it. You're bad. You're a bad little girl. So that's how she branded herself. That's what she believed, because that was the input. So the output was, I have no self-worth, right? Poor input, poor output. And so her dad took her back. She was at like Vacation Bible School or something. And they said, whoever gets this Queen of Hearts playing card, we're going to pass them out randomly. Whoever gets it gets to be queen for the day. Well, the teacher knew she needed it. Like I knew you needed it. So she tried to give her the card. When everyone else's eyes were closed, she tapped her, tried to give her this card, and she wouldn't take it. And why do you think that is?
She didn't feel worthy of it.
She didn't feel worthy of it, and she passed on it, and she always regretted that. So now I'm listening to this lady talk. She's 70. She says, I was up on stage about 5 years ago, and I'm telling this story about what happened to me with this card as a little kid. She said, I'm telling the story, and a lady walks. There's 20,000 people. A lady walks from the back all the way to the front and is just standing there. And I'm thinking, like, are you the next speaker? Like, what do you need? So she hands the lady the microphone, and she says, I know this is going to sound crazy. And she has a card in her hand, a playing card. She said, before I left to come to this conference, I felt like God said, you need to bring this Queen of Hearts card with you. Go get it from the deck. And she said, I thought that sounded so crazy. I left my house. I didn't do it. And then every light I hit, it was like God was like, nope, red light, red light, red light, red light, turn the car around. So the lady turns the car around, gets the card, and she hands her this card. Like, what an amazing evolution. But when she gave us these cards, she said, some of you need this card because you yourself had this childhood trauma, and you need to understand you're worthy. But some of you need to give this card to someone else. And after I told you that story, what did I do with the card?
You gave it to me.
You gave it to me, and do you still have it?
I still have it. I carry it in my wallet every day.
And I took it out of where? Out of my wallet. So my little son, my precious little angel baby, he knew I had for months this Queen of Hearts card, but he didn't know why. I didn't tell him this whole story. So I was in Vegas. I had like a big victory for business. Remember last time we were like worried we were losing the business? We got it back. So I gave him a tiny little deck of cards. So he walks up to me, Queen of Hearts card, hands me this card, and he says, Mommy, you need to keep this in your wallet. And I just thought, wow. Like, what a big deal. But everybody watching today, some of you will watch this and go, damn, I know people that have low self-worth. I know people that have had trauma. Maybe I should talk to them. Maybe I should get them to watch this podcast. Maybe I should take them to church. Like, what do you think people should do if they feel the way that you felt, or if they know somebody that feels that way?
I think it starts with knowing that you can turn your life around. And you're not the problem. I'm gonna get emotional, but
you should.
Yeah.
So I'm just cathartic. It's good.
Yeah. You're not the problem. You might have grown up in a family where you didn't receive the love that you needed, or the simple basic care that you needed. And there's so many people out there who, weren't clothed, weren't fed, their basic needs weren't met. And even though, some people's parents try, you can always change your life, and letting people go isn't the worst thing. Yeah. Either.
Old book.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
you could get a new mom in your new book.
Yeah.
Write that new book now.
Yeah.
Definitely get on that path.
Yeah. It's already in you. You can do whatever you want to do with your life. If someone else can pursue their dreams, you can too. You're no different. There's not.
Everybody puts their pants on the same way.
Yeah, and it kind of goes with the no pedestal chapter. Yeah. Too, is no one's necessarily better than you. There might be qualities that you admire in a person.
They might work harder than you, but you can work hard.
Yeah.
Well, as an employer, I've always said I would take 10 people who have good work ethic and are coachable over 10 people who only have skill.
Yeah.
Because a person who's coachable, a person who needs me, they're going to get all my love and attention and power into their life. And I'm going to make sure, if I commit to, I'm going to make sure that I get them there on time. I'm so glad that you are my second guest on this podcast. I love that it was me, you, and Rob to launch this, because it was not an easy thing to write. When you're really thinking about what are the 30 things that can change people's lives, like my Kate-isms, giving them to you guys to kind of craft into what people would love was scary for me, but that's the kind of trust I feel like we've built. So I really appreciate you being with me today.
Thank you. And I'm excited too, because I'm going to do a TikTok series of actually going through the book for 30 days and the workbook. And I'm excited to see how, even though there's things I've implemented, actually taking 10 minutes out of my day for 30 days to implement it and think deeply, just each day take one concept and apply it.
It's an investment.
Yeah, it's an investment.
It's an investment. And I suggest that everybody invest more in yourself. If there's anyone you should invest in, it's you. Like right now, I just wrote a very scary $20,000 check to have the screenplay of my movie rewritten. And it was like scary because I'm like, well, now I got to make it. Like, oh my God. But I'm like, who better to bet on than me? You need to bet on yourself. Go to school. Go work for somebody like me. Take a chance. Move. Do something that's good for you. Invest in yourself. And I think that's one of the best takeaways of today.
I think it really is, too.
I just love you so much. Thank you so much.
I love
for being
you, too.
Here.
Thank you.